Hellcat.
Hello and welcome back to the channel where once again it's time for another Saturn review, and like promised, today's game is the puzzle game Baku Baku, which came out in 1996. Now this had one unique thing about it when it was released on the consoles and the PC. It was the first Sega game on a PC to support online play, and it was actually planned to have Sega Netlink for the Saturn, but that actually got cancelled. Never mind, that was then, this is now. Is Baku Baku worth playing today? Well, there's only one way to find out, is to take a look and give it my honest assessment. The story of the game is pretty simplistic then. The princess isn't taking care of her animals, so they decide to hold a contest to appoint a royal zookeeper, and there are two contestants, Polly and Gon, as they battle it out to see who can get the job. So once you hit the main menu and you press the start button, you are greeted with an arcade mode, a ranking mode, and an options. Heading into options, it's pretty simplistic stuff here. We've got a sound test, check the controls on the D-pad. You can view the Hall of Fame for high scores. You can go on a movie viewer to view the ending sequence and the credits, stuff like that. And you can head back to the main menu. Pretty simplistic stuff. Now, arcade mode is, of course, the main bulk of the game, where you progress through each stage as the girl Polly in an attempt to become the royal zookeeper. Heading into settings here, you can choose the difficulty between very easy all the way up to very hard. You can choose settings for VS CPU games, 2-player games, the number of animal types, and the food ratio for animals too. So the idea of the game really is simplistic. It's a case of matching up the correct animal with the correct food that they eat. It really is that straightforward. Obviously, the more you can match up at once, the more that will be taken away. You can sling combos together, and the more you can get rid of, the more chance you've got of dumping other items on the opposing character to make it more difficult for them. It really is simplistic, and it's very, very straightforward. So then on to the nitty gritty. How does it look? How does it play? How does it sound? What kind of lifespan, and is it worth playing today? Now graphically, Baku Baku doesn't really push the Saturn at all. It's relatively pleasing on the eye. It's colourful. It's quite childish and friendly in that regard, but there is nothing that is spectacular or catching or that really pushes the Saturn to its limits. It's pretty similar in the looks department to Bust a Move. You do get some effects at the end when the monster's face jumps out of the screen to chew up the person who's lost, but that really is about as exciting as it gets. That doesn't mean it's a bad looking game. Like I said, it's colourful. There's multiple different characters that you face off against. All the backgrounds are different for each level, so it's got plenty of variety. But again, this kind of game isn't really about the way it looks, and I said that with Bust a Move. Games like this are based on their gameplay and how addictive they are, so really to criticise the graphics, I feel, is unfair. It's not a bad looking game, but like I said, there is nothing out of the ordinary. Talking about the music and the sound effects for this game is very easy because they are absolutely 100% suited to this style of game. There is nothing that I could say that's negative about the style of either the sounds or the music for this game, because they all suit each level to a T. They are the exact kind of music that you want to hear in a game like this. Pleasing on the ears, friendly, almost childlike, but to a point that it's actually perfectly good to listen to as a grown-up as well. There is only one small blemish for the sound, and I think I said it about Bust a Move 2, is that some of the sound effects kind of have that cartridge style quality to them. They're not clear CD audio that you would expect. I'm not sure why this is. It's just the same. It happened in Bust a Move 2 as well when I reviewed that. The music, perfectly good, but some of the sound effects, they're of a lower quality. That is really the only bad thing that I can say about the game in the sound department, because everything else is just perfectly suited to the game. How does it play? Well, it plays very, very simplistically. You move the items with the D-pad, you press the A button to shuffle them around, and you can just press L or R or down on the D-pad to move them down quicker. It really is as simple as that, and it's just a case of trying to line them up with the right food for the right animal. That is it. Occasionally you can get golden coins, and they will remove any of that particular item that they touch. And that really is it. It's simplistic, but it is addictive, and that is the strength of the game. Making it easy to play means it appeals to anybody of any age. You could play it with a 5-year-old or a 45-year-old, and they will be able to do it because of that simplistic, easy, and addictive gameplay. And that is, without a doubt, the game's biggest strength. What kind of lifespan can this game give you? Well, thankfully, it's got a much better learning curve than Bust a Move. You put it on very easy, and it is pretty easy. You can get through normal mode, you can complete it, see the ending. Turn up the difficulties, and the speed will increase, and the game can become much, much harder, meaning it does become more luck-based rather than purely skill-based as you turn the difficulties up. Now, as well as arcade mode, you've got ranking mode, where you can't select the difficulty, it just gets gradually harder and harder, and you go and you see how far you can get through the game and get the biggest score possible. One other mode it does have is League mode, which is unlocked via a code, but the problem with this is that it's completely in Japanese. Now, I'm not really sure why. I haven't delved deep enough to find the reason for this, but I've gone through all the menus, tried to navigate them to see if there's some kind of gameplay element to it, and I can't get anything out of it. Now, if you've played this and you can explain to me League mode, then feel free, but as it stands, it's just in the game, and I'm not entirely sure why. So, lifespan. It's pretty good. It's got 2-player as well. So with the better learning curve, with the 2-player, with the ranking mode as well, it's definitely got more to come back to, in my opinion, than Bust a Move. And it's got that addictive gameplay as well, so it's definitely worth giving it a go on the higher difficulties. Now, if you put it on very hard and you go for the expert mode as well, you can expect those blocks to come down really quick, and the game gets very intense and becomes very, very difficult and much more stressful. So some people it won't be suited to, but if you want to give it a bash on the harder difficulties, it's still got that addictive quality without a doubt. So lifespan wise, gets a thumbs up for me. I think it's got that comeback for more gameplay as well, and that really is imperative to a game like this. So once you finally beat the game and you get your ending sequence, you're left with the question, is the game worth buying today and playing today? And thankfully it's one of these games that ages really, really well because it's got that addictive, simplistic gameplay. It doesn't get outdated, which means you can pick it up now just as well as you could 25 years ago, and it plays just as well. It's just as enjoyable now, and I think Baku Baku is quite an original one of these games. I'm trying to think of other ones. Obviously there's been loads of these styles of games, but at the time it came out, this was genuinely unique in my opinion. I can't think of any other puzzle game like this where your animals are eating food and stuff. I'm sure somebody will correct me if there isn't, but it was definitely an original game, and it plays so well that it holds up all these years later. So at £20 it is now. It's recently gone down a little bit at CEX. I think it's worth it, to be honest, and I've enjoyed every single game that I have played on it so far. So yes, without a doubt, I recommend Baku Baku. It is a genuinely enjoyable, addictive puzzle game and well worth adding to your Saturn collection. So the big question is, does Baku Baku make it into the top 10? And the answer is yes, it does. It comes in at number 9. So Cyber Speedway, unfortunately, despite its amazing soundtrack, has fallen off the list. Street Racer goes down a peg to that 10th spot, and Baku Baku nestles into the top 10. And that is it for today's review. What are your thoughts on Baku Baku? Have you played it? How do you think it compares to the likes of Bust a Move? Let me know down below, and I shall see you soon for another Saturn review. Goodbye for now.